eating. Yeah, these were the days.
Days shared with the Q, Quincy Jones.
And after all was said and done, everybody would go to their individual jobs, you know, in the nightclubs. And then we'd all convene at the Elks Club on Jackson. I remember that, because then everybody really played what they wanted to play. And that was after the after-hour place. Mainly it was modern jazz. And Ray Charles would come up there, and Gerald Bashir. There was a drummer named Jimmy, and Tommy Adams, and Buddy Catlett, and Floyd Staniford, and people from Lionel Hampton's band. All the visiting bands came through, and they'd go up there and play. And it was like Disneyland. It was like heaven, you know.
Quincy, when you think back to that time, what are the first things you remember?
The clubs, you know, strangely enough. The Black and Tan, the Rocking Chair, the Washington Educational and Social Club, which, that's a joke. Wasn't educational, it was very educational for us. So. I think of Bumps, Blackwell's home, where we really all cut our teeth, you know.
Quincy, Ernestine, and Ray all played with Bumps Blackwell's junior band. What's more, they practically lived at Bumps' house.
He always seemed to attract the young people, and he worked with them, you know, with us.
We went in search of Bumps Blackwell, a search that led us to Los Angeles. We found him in this suburban neighborhood, still doing what he was doing 30 years ago.
Bumps' home has been in Los Angeles for many years now, but it's still a place for young people who want to learn about music.
You see, everyone who approaches music approaches it with a fear.
Over the years, Bumps has had a hand in molding an incredible amount of talent. His students have included Little Richard, whose career he managed, Sam Cooke, Herb Alpert, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, and the list goes on. A list that began 35 years ago in Seattle with Quincy, Ernestine, and Ray. Back then, Bumps was a band leader by night and a butcher by day. He ran a meat market at 23rd and Madison. We took Bumps on a sentimental journey back to the old neighborhood, back to the building where his meat market was on ground level, and an after-hours place called the Washington Social and Educational Club was upstairs.
And it was a real education.
How so?
Right. And then right down to my right here was the butcher shop, which I ran, and Ed White ran the grocery store. And it was right here that Ray Charles, Sammy Davis Jr., and some of the greats. I have a book where they still owe me for meats.
Was Sammy Davis in Seattle then, too?
Yes, well, Sammy Davis and his father and his uncle lived right around the corner here. There was a little, I think it was the Woodson Apartments. They were there, and they played downtown. In fact, they were stranded here for about a long time, about a year and a half.
When you look back on your life now, was it a special time for you? Was it a special time for Bumps Blackwell?
Yes, absolutely. Not only was it a special time, I've been with some of the greatest acts in the business. I've had the pleasure of working with them, coaching them, teaching them, directing them. And people have asked me in Europe and Australia, Bumps, tell us, if you had to live over, which would you like to live over? I'd say the days of the junior band. Well, to the music scene, this is actually where it started. Now, Ray Charles lived about...
Bumps has lost most of his vision now, but he led us straight to the house where he lived and taught. Appropriately, there are struggling young musicians living there today, though I suspect their rent is a bit higher than the $25 a month Bumps used to pay.
But we used to rehearse. I'd have them in the bathroom, in the dining room, in the kitchen, upstairs bedroom, downstairs bedroom, the front room, and the den, all playing on the instruments, learning. Cause
made a lot of good music here.
Yeah.
Okay, Daddy Bumps. I want you to tell me about some of your kids.
All
what
right.
do you remember about? Let's start with Ernestine. What was Ernestine like then?
Well, Ernestine was just a cute little old girl, and I nicknamed her Muffin Jaws.
Sitting on a rainbow, got the string around my finger.
Well, Ray was he was what they said he was, the genius of Ray Charles. He was just incredible. Quincy was altogether a different kind of guy. He was, there was something about Q that was direct and a little honest, and he had something in his eyes. He had a kind of a sparkle in his eyes.
Quincy Quincy Jones has plenty of reason to sparkle these days. He's one of the biggest names in music, the hottest producer in the business. We'll see why when PM Northwest continues.
This is the Sunset Strip in Los Angeles, California, the top of the heap in the music business. And if there's one man who's the king of this mountain right now, that man is Quincy Jones.
And the winner is Quincy Jones.
At the 1982 Grammy Awards, Quincy Jones took home everything but the podium. 5 Grammys in all, including Producer of the Year.
Man! When I started waiting for this award, I had long, flowing hair and a thin waistline like James Ingram. And they say the first 30 years are the hardest, but...
It has indeed been a long road for the young man who left Seattle with big dreams and a trumpet. He won a scholarship to study in Boston, hit the road with Lionel Hampton, and made his name as a master of bebop.
And then came a turning point that I wanted to write different kinds of music, more than just jazz, because in those days in New York, they wouldn't let the black arrangers write for strings. So I was fortunate enough to get a job in Paris, and I got a chance to study with Nadia Boulanger in Paris, and went over there and did like 200 or 300 sessions with huge string section, and wrote for strings until it came out of my ears. And when I came back, then everything changed a lot.
From then on, Quincy concentrated on composing, arranging, producing. He became known as a studio miracle maker, producing hit albums for recording stars from Andy Williams to Count Basie, from Frank Sinatra to his old friend Ray Charles. And he achieved something he'd dreamed of from the age of 15. He wrote for movies, 33 of them.
It was worth the wait, though. It just takes time to develop, and grow. And I prefer it that way, because that way I think you can continue on and not have to quit the music business at 30.
What's it like to win 5 Grammys?
It's fantastic. It's better than losing 5 Grammys.
Today, Quincy is known primarily as the genius behind James Ingram. And Patty Austin.
This is right.
And as the producer behind Michael Jackson. Quincy came close to death in 1974 with 2 neural aneurysms. That was the end of his trumpet playing. Now he likens himself to a film director, responsible for everything from the talent to the packaging.
I like producing because it challenges everything you know, and it's the only place I've found that I can use everything that I know about, about music.
Now the guy who left Garfield with dreams comes back with glory. Comes back to announce that he'll celebrate his 50th birthday with benefit concerts in Seattle, and that the funds raised will go to his alma mater and Seattle Central Community College.
Mr. Jones, how do you feel about the reception that you got at Garfield today?
It's one of the most overwhelming things I've ever experienced. It's It's very emotional because thinking about coming here, you know, this is not like a little rendezvous we kept 3 weeks ago. It's been 32 years since I've seen these halls.
But much of Quincy's early education in music came from the magic place and time he shared with Ray and Ernestine. We'll catch up with them when PM Northwest continues.